things that when you die, God is going to ask you. First, who am I to you? Secondly, where is your spouse in relationship to me because of you? And thirdly, where are your children in relationship to me because of you?
I think too often in our church, we saw marriage as being the church's responsibility is to get you to the aisle, and then after that, you're on your own. We have to change that. We have to support married couples after they are married.
Marriage is the bedrock of society, and we can see what happens when marriages fall apart and the fallout from it. We can see the impact on children. We can see the long-term impact of divorce. And again, not that the church is saying that someone has to stay in a marriage that is abusive or extremely dysfunctional, but we have to take this role as husband and wife in this covenant relationship seriously. And in our own view as Catholics, it's a reflection of the relationship between God and His people. It's that covenant relationship.
Everything we have springs from the marriage and family relationship, and it's how well or how poorly that we do at home that's going to determine how well or how poorly our society will be.
What the church has been trying to do is to create the home of love, to create the place of love, to create a civilization based on love. And love is worth the effort. That's the main thing. We think it's going to be so much better if we could just walk away from our spouses or if we could just ignore having children. But the effort that it takes to sustain those relationships is worth it. That's the real point. And that's what the church has been trying to tell us all along.
God loves you so much that He wants you to experience His love. And therefore, when you as a husband and a wife, when you show that love to one another, that human love is not going to be sufficient. You need that power of God's love so that you're not just showing the physical love, you're not just showing, I love you because I need you, I love you because you make me feel good. I love you because of who you are and because I want you to be a fuller person. And God, I ask your grace to be able to love this person this way. And that's what the sacrament is. The sacrament is that grace that God gives you, a grace of love, to be able to love this person with the warts, with all the imperfections, with all the difficulties, that I see beyond that. And I see this person who is lovable.
Marriage is not a perfect relationship. It's one in which two people are invited to grow in their relationship. And I think that, especially with the way in which we tend to celebrate weddings, they're grand events, there's a lot of pressure on newly married couples to think that somehow, as they step out of that wedding dress and that tuxedo, that they're supposed to already be this perfect couple. And we say no, that they rely upon God's grace and grow to become what they are as a husband and wife.
We have to come to understand that marriage is not about ourselves. It's about that ability to die to oneself for the sake of the beloved. But of course, in our society today, we've been conditioned ever since we were little kids that life was all about us. But yet we come to this thing called marriage where we're supposed to die to ourselves for the sake of the other person.
A couple that's adrift in the culture right now, the best that they can hope for is that their well-meaning friends will gather around them and say, gee, I hope it works out, hope you don't argue too much, and don't get divorced. That's a really low bar. That's like a kid in school who's just aiming to pass. If you miss a little, you fail. And American marriages are failing about half of the time. The church just has a better idea. Says, make it your whole life, make it your vocation. Convince this guy he's loved and lovable. What's it going to take? I've got to figure out a guy, and then I got to figure out this guy, and what are my resources, and what are my obstacles, and really to throw myself into that. And then they tell me, well, love him the way Christ loves. Well, wow, that's a pretty high bar. Even if I miss it a little, I'm going to be safe. And so it really has been that ambition for our marriage that has taught us that we didn't have to settle for just getting along, that we could be passionately in love.
When you get married, you don't look over your shoulder to think, is today the day he's going to walk out? Or is today the day I'm going to throw in the towel? When you get married, you have the attitude that the Greek generals had. We've landed, we burn the ships. We triumph or we perish. That's it. No looking back. You know, we need to have a little bit more of that type of spirit to sustain the culture of love, because love is work, but it's worth it.
Love is possible. Love is real. It's real in our life. It's real in the lives of other couples. And that gives us a tremendous sense of hope. You know, that the good years are not behind us, the good years are ahead of us. Even after 40 years of marriage, we can say that with all of the faith and conviction of our hearts, that there's always more to learn about each other, always a new way to learn how to love each other better.
If God is the center of the marriage, they have every chance of being successful. I find that when God is not at the center of the marriage, they have nothing to hang on to. They have nothing to call them back together. You hurt me, I forgive you. I can't say that unless God is part of my marriage. If I'm going to love you, I got to love you unconditionally. I can't do that unless God is part of the marriage.
Anyone living on this planet is made daily aware of the tremendous pressure bombarding Christian people, among them the Christian faithful, urging them to give up, give in, and betray what Jesus has taught us about love and life, and particularly about the paramount institution of love and life, which is marriage. We ask Christian, Catholic married couples to maintain their ideals, to keep their commitments. More and more, it seems that as pastors and priests of the Church, we are sending out people into this battle unprepared and unarmed. So, I call upon us all to enter upon a comprehensive and collaborative ministry to the married people in our parishes, and pledge our cooperation with all who seek to create a vibrant culture of marriage rooted in God's plan for the good of humanity.